Hi, friends. I am Brendan Hufford. Welcome to Demand 2024. Today, we're talking about lead gen that works. I'm going to give you two frameworks that I've not shared anywhere else that I think will be really helpful for you in thinking about what and kind of how to think about lead gen here in 2024 and beyond. I think we're all making the same mistake when it comes to lead gen, kind of two of them, actually. The first one is what I call checkbox marketing. This is a great example of that. It is a head of content role at a really cool company that produces a ton of content. But it says right here in the post, we produce 20 pieces of blog content every week. For those doing the math at home, that's 1,000 blogs a year. Personally, I don't know who's consuming 1,000 blogs per year. But this just reads as kind of checking the boxes, right? The second biggest mistake is when I post something like this and I say, hey, if I was your head of content, here's what I would do. People read it as checkbox marketing, right? They read it as, hey, how would you distribute this? What's the distribution look like? What's the promotion plan? What's that? And they miss the point. And I went pretty quick there, so you might have missed it too. They missed the later half of it. See, Sakshi here asked this awesome question about, hey, what's the difference between content creation and content distribution? And it made me ask a question. What would it look like if more of us created a batch of content that could be atomized, repurposed, remixed, and distributed forever? And I don't know if you noticed this, but in the end of that post, I said something to the effect of I'd also be in the community and talking to our customers every single day. And Marta was the only one that asked about that. And that shows me that we are very, very lost in checkbox marketing. So let's say goodbye to checkbox marketing. Let's say hello to customers. Here's my exact process. So this is my proven customer acquisition, my proven lead gen process. We're only going to talk through two of these today, though. We only have time here in our 18 minutes together to talk through community-led marketing and demand-focused content. So a quick note on frameworks. Most of them that you see, we've all been on LinkedIn, right? Most of them that you see on LinkedIn are like this, where it's like draw two circles, draw the rest of the freaking owl. And that's a huge, they don't give you the in-between part. They don't give you the secret sauce. I'm going to give you all of that today here in the next couple minutes. First, let's talk about community-led marketing. So community does not equal audience. This is a hill that I will absolutely die on. I may already be dead on this hill. Your community is you sitting in the background and your audience engaging with each other. It is not joining the latest sales tech or martech Slack channel and having them spam webinar notifications at you or doing at channel 3 times a day to market at you. That's audience. Community is where they just hang out with each other. So how do we do our marketing? Like I said, they're helping each other. The question we have to answer is, how do we make their place our place? How do we make the thing that we've created become their clubhouse, make it their home base? Here's exactly how I think about this. This is an incredibly popular LinkedIn post that I posted a while back. Actually, I think it's almost a year at this point. I noticed the same person posted something in a $2,000 a year marketing community, and somebody posted it in my community. And in the $2,000 a year community, it was crickets, not even a single reply. My community, 8 replies in 24 hours from 8 different people. A lot of people say you have to charge for a community. You have to join these paid communities. I'm not going to call them out by name, but you're all thinking of their names right now. You don't have to pay for them. It just has to be good. There are a lot of free communities out there. There's a lot of terrible ones, but there's also a lot of terrible paid communities. It doesn't matter whether you pay for them or they're free. I've been doing this for years. So ever since 2013, I was a community manager for this guy named Pat Flynn, who ran the Smart Passive Income community. We had our Facebook group at 40,000 members. Today, I should probably update this slide. We've got over 1,000 members in the all-in community. I'm pumped about that, but it's not about total number of members. It's, like I said, about what happens there. And again, answering the question, how do we make our place their place to help each other? So I told you, I'm going to give you the whole thing. This is my checklist. All right. I'm not going to break my cardinal rule of reading slides to other adults. So you maybe are experiencing some of that today with other speakers. I'm not going to read these slides to you, but there are some cool things. Screenshot this, see if you can get access to the slides. If you want access to the slides, maybe I can share them with you on LinkedIn. But this is my go-to checklist. Figuring out how do we make cool things happen in the community so that people want to come back. We're already doing a lot of these things in All In. My favorite one in here is not on this slide. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. AMAs and demo day where people show up and show like once a month or once a quarter. You have your community show up, share things they're proud of all together. It's really fun. My secret weapon though is what I call an insiders club, which is simply asking people. Some people charge money for this, where they say, hey, if you are a part of this and you pay us extra money, we'll give you this inside information. People do it for, they gate it by saying you have to be a CMO or whatever. I think it's really cool to do with any sort of members, whether you market to marketers or not, where you just say, hey, in order to get this cool information, you have to contribute to it. And that's the key. You give to get. In this Insiders Club, we ask a few specific questions about what were your wins, but also what's the stuff you wouldn't share anywhere else? What's the secret things that are really working for you? Maybe if you work in marketing, maybe you're doing a cool flow where you pipe stuff from your Nevadic interactive product demo into Clay. And then with Clay, you're using Sendoso to send gifts and you're doing like all these different kind of cool things. Maybe nobody knows about that. Maybe nobody's doing that, but you share it here. And then you also get all the other cool things that none of the other people are sharing anywhere else. This is where that 30 minutes every single day interacting in your community and 30 minutes on a call with a customer make a huge, huge difference. You can't neglect community-led marketing. Remember, community is not marketing, but it can lead it. The second framework I want to share with you today, and again, if you have any questions about any of these things, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to give you one-to-one direct answers of like, how would this look at my company? The second piece is demand-focused content. So I came up under like the SEO umbrella. I was very much capturing existing demand for information, demand for products and services, right? There's a bit of capture there. I would argue it's also a bit more creation because people are looking for information. You can sell them what they want, give them what they need kind of thing. But I've kind of built most of my own business by creating demand on LinkedIn. It's been incredibly effective, both for myself, for clients, not just generating a lot of views, but doubling, tripling pipeline, adding significant pipeline that converts into revenue, into close one revenue has been really, really valuable for myself over the years. And I think, it's because I came up under a time when content was easy and it was fun. It was 2013, right? And this is the Google Trends history for content marketing. I had a little Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blog. I even won an award for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Blog of the Year. And I caught it on the upswing. I got really lucky. A lot of times we forget that when we talk about our marketing successes. Did you catch a trend early? Yeah, I was early on that and things were great. I had 100% organic Facebook reach. SEO was just about turning your little Yoast plugin green, and it was that easy. Blogging beat everything else out. And because I also had a podcast and I also knew email marketing, I was crushing it. But then you saw that dip earlier, right? If I go back 2 slides, people were like, what's that dip? I want to talk about this dip. This is an analogy from April Dunford that I love, where you used to in content marketing. And if we're thinking about how content becomes leads, becomes revenue, you used to be able to turn poop into a unicorn. You could do that in 2018. And if you run that playbook now, you don't get the sparkly multicolored unicorn. You just get sparkly multicolored poop. You create a wacky category, give your software product or your service a weird name, you run this outdated playbook, and it's kind of just feels strange and it doesn't really resonate and it doesn't really work. And the thing is, back in 2018, we were already kind of on top of that. We were already saying in 2018, this old content marketing, I call it the 2012, 2013 HubSpot playbook. Like, it doesn't work anymore to just check the boxes, to run our same checkbox marketing. And I figure there has to be a better way, which kind of leads us to today. Content in 2023 was extremely corporate. It was extremely commodity. It was extremely copycat. And starting not that long ago became ChatGPT. And if you want to win in 2024 and beyond, you can't be any of those things. And I know you're like, Brendan, you're preaching to the choir, but the fact of the matter is when I look at most of the marketing material companies put out, it is corporate. It is commodity. A lot of it's copycat, and frighteningly, some good significant bit of it was written by ChatGPT. So I got introduced a while back to this idea of a conceptual scoop. Have you ever heard of a conceptual scoop? Before, I'd guess not, because I had never heard of it. But I had heard of conceptual scoops like quiet quitting, like the great resignation. These are times when journalists see something going on in culture and they give it a name. They say, hey, I see this trend happening. Here's what it's called. And you know what we all did? As soon as we heard quiet quitting, as soon as we heard great resignation, we did what I call the snapping point. We did the snap and the point. We go, oh, that's what it's called. That's what that is. And it is a really awesome, great quote that I think really defines it. Says it can help people make sense of a torrent of raw data, right? An era of crumbling paradigms. Our worldview is shifting. And when there's all this information, we're seeing all this information about people resigning in mass or people just kind of checking out of their jobs. We just didn't have words for it. The problem is when you try to rename an old idea. This is something a lot of marketers make mistakes. We have people talking about inbound led outbound, and like we're just trying to make fetch happen. It happens a lot with creating our categories for software and service products, right? You're trying to, maybe you're an email marketing software and you try to become customer experience automation. And it's like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants customer experience automation. You're just trying to repackage an old idea in a new wrapper. To be a conceptual scoop, it has to be timely, and it also has to be new. At the end, you want people to think, God, that was really smart, right? It says it takes facts that are lying in plain sight and synthesizes them or arranges them in a way, sometimes in a narrative, in our case, as marketers, a strategic narrative, if you're an Andy Raskin fan like I am, that really exposes some new meaning on an important subject. So we want to do the same. We want to develop what I call content IP and then deploy it. I'll show you how. So first I like to, and this is literally just a quick list of phrases that you can steal, right? A lot of us have heard phrases like dark social or the attribution mirage. This is content IP. That's naming a problem. When Chris Walker first started talking about the attribution mirage, everybody was like, that's not new, not dark social isn't new. It's not new. Yeah, no crap. But we didn't have words for it before. We have these long form sentences and paragraphs to describe the problem. Now that we have words, we all use them. If you give people words for the frustrations they have, you're not just opening hearts and minds, you're probably opening wallets too. So the first thing we have to do is spend time and workshop this, create some true IP around a problem. My friend Liam Maroney, who you might have seen his presentation as well. I absolutely adore him and the team at Storybook. He's been talking a lot lately about late stage demand generation and what happens in this later stage of a company, what the type of demand gen that in the way it kind of changes and morphs and becomes something we don't really recognize anymore as demand gen, doesn't really work so much anymore. That's a piece of his IP that he can own. Checkbox marketing is my IP. But for each piece of IP that you create, you just can deploy it pretty easily on social. So here's a good example. First, we just have to talk about the problem. This giant yellow box was a very harmless post that I made where I just said, hey, I figured out why B2B is boring. We were all saying it, just like quiet quitting, just like the great resignation. We were all thinking, hey, this is happening. We didn't have words for it. Everybody's been saying B2B is boring for years, but we didn't know why. Checkbox marketing. And now that people have that, I have people emailing me, asking me for t-shirts that say death to checkbox marketing on it, right? It becomes really, really pervasive because it's a thing that we have sensed for a long time. But we have to name the problem. Then we have to solve a roadblock to the problem. This is when I was selling a lot of like SEO services. I made posts helping them navigate the roadblocks. One of the biggest roadblocks to anybody implementing SEO is how do you explain SEO to your CEO? It's really hard. Most people start going into, backlinks and Google's a black box and we don't really know the algorithm and all that. CEO doesn't care about that. So if I gave my audience, my customers, a framework to help them beat that roadblock of explaining SEO to their CEO, they're more likely to help me, or they're more likely to trust me, and they're more likely to work with me. Then give them a template or a framework to solve their problem. It doesn't actually have to be a Google slide or a Google sheet or whatever, an Excel document. It could just be a mental framework. Like the I am SEO framework is how you explain SEO to your CEO: intent, asset, and medium. If you're trying to explain Google SEO or YouTube SEO or Amazon SEO or Pinterest, I don't anything that is a search engine, it's about intent, asset, and medium. And that's how you win in SEO. That framework helped them along the way. Put together a customer case study. This is easy. We all have these, but it has to relate specifically back to your IP. So my case studies, hey, this is how my customers beat checkbox marketing. This is exactly how they beat it, right? And you can too if you work with me. That's the kind of impetus, the pitch of it all. And then just a high level interesting insight. This doesn't have to be your customers. I've never worked with HubSpot. I've never worked with Airbnb. I've never worked with ConvertKit or any of these companies on here, but I did some digging. I did a little bit of, dare I say, journalism. I did some digging. I found some cool stuff and I'm sharing it around IP. Hey, here's how they beat checkbox marketing. Again, I said earlier, the 2013 HubSpot playbook. This is what they did before they did that, right? Here's the non-checkbox marketing they did when they were early. This is the demand focused playbook. I'm giving it to you today. Like I said, here's Mac, who I love, asking where can I buy or when can I buy a death to checkbox marketing shirt? And this was just in a comment. I just tested it by seeding it in other people's comments on LinkedIn. You throw it in your webinars, toss it in your emails, see when and where it resonates. So this is the whole process, but today we focused on just those first two. And this was a great time. I appreciate you all. Thank you for coming to Demand 2024. Thank you to the team and Metadata for having me. I've been Brendan Hufford. Don't forget to work hard, be nice people, and try not to get too lost creating something that matters.